Hello and welcome to $5 Hockey Mask. If you've been here before, welcome back. Okay, I know this series is for Dictators, and this guy's a monarch, which is technically distinct, but I think absolute monarchies also fit my purposes, so I'll throw some in alongside the Dictators. It's also my series, and you can't tell me what to do. The guy's an unelected official with absolute authority, he's done some crazy stuff, and he's still in power today. I'm going to talk about him, and you can't stop me. Also, I got a new background, I don't know if you noticed. Hassanal Bolkiah is the current Sultan of Brunei, having held the position since 1967. Brunei was, and still is, a hereditary monarchy, so as the oldest son of Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin III, Hassanal ascended to the throne when his dad stepped down. Brunei was also still a British protectorate at that point, but like a lot of other British colonies, it wasn't directly governed by colonial authorities. The Sultan was basically the leader of Brunei within the empire. When Hassanal came to power, he wasn't Brunei's highest government official. They were all back in London, and his powers were limited, but he had effective control over the place. As part of his royal upbringing, Hassanal married his cousin through an arranged marriage when he was 19. Now, this situation wasn't exclusive to Hassanal. Intermarriages were common in the Bolkiah family, which had been the ruling dynasty in Brunei since the Sultanate was established in the 1360s. No Habsburg chin on this guy though, because the Bolkiahs are built different. Anyway, Omar Ali Saifuddin abdicated 2 years later, supposedly out of protests against the spread of communism, and as his heir apparent, Hassanal was next in line for the throne. He got started on his dictator monarch stuff immediately after, refusing to lift the state of emergency the country had been under since 1962. That year, a small insurgent group tried their hand at a revolution and attempted to overthrow the protectorate state's monarchy. Hassanal's dad, wanting to keep his job, declared the emergency in response, and even though the revolt wasn't successful and only lasted less than 2 weeks, the provisions stayed in place for the rest of his reign, along with the heightened restrictions and expanded government powers that came with them. Hassanal inherited the protectorate under these conditions and never bothered doing anything about it. In 1984, Brunei gained independence from the British Empire, and Hassanal became the de jure head of state instead of just the de facto one. With this new authority, he started restructuring the government, setting up a parliament and creating the position of prime minister that same year. You might think this meant he was turning the country into a constitutional monarchy, where the monarch still has executive authority, but a popularly elected government operates under them, making decisions that the monarch then approves. But no, he gave the position to himself and continued to rule by decree, holding no elections of any kind for his entire reign. As of time of recording, but I doubt that'll change anytime soon. This lack of elections was made up for by an abundance of controversies, though. During his reign, Hassanal had at least one run-in with Jeffrey Epstein when he went to Brunei with Bill Clinton in 2002. Now, there's nothing to indicate Hassanal returned the favor and took a trip to Little St. James, but just being in the Black Book is a bad enough look in itself. He and his brother Jeffrey were also accused in 1997 of luring multiple American models to Brunei, drugging them, and holding them against their will as sex slaves. The royal family denied the allegations, and the case was dropped by a U.S. court. Not because of evidence presented by the Bolkiahs or a lack thereof on the models' part, but because the brothers were given legal immunity as officials of a foreign government, and their case had to be thrown out regardless. Ladies and gentlemen, the American justice system. The guy also literally acts like a satirical caricature of a monarch. I'm not kidding. His lifestyle is cartoonishly lavish. The $600 million gold-encrusted palace he commissioned to celebrate Brunei's independence is the largest on the planet, with more than 1,700 rooms and an 800-car garage. Speaking of garages, his family owns more luxury cars than anyone else in the world. This $5 billion collection of almost 7,000 vehicles includes around 300 Ferraris and 500 Rolls-Royces, at least one of which is gold-plated. Hassanal reportedly flies his British barber first class to Brunei once a month for a $20,000 haircut, and owns his own personal zoo and golf course, which he can of course fly to on his gold-furnished private jet. this is a real person I'm talking about. Prince Geoffrey, the guy from earlier with the sex slaves, allegedly, was even worse, if you could believe it. See, Hassanal's expenditures are ridiculous, but at least he pays for his stuff using the royal family's money, not government funds. According to Hassanal himself, Geoffrey is a different story. During his stint as finance minister, he allegedly embezzled upwards of $16 billion from the government to put towards his own life of luxury. Despite the tough-on-corruption stance Hassanal had maintained since his days as crown prince, it took him around a decade to catch on to it and fire him. Now, to give the guy some credit, him and his family aren't the only ones who've gotten rich off his position. He's done a lot for the country's economy, with Brunei becoming one of the richest in the world under his leadership. The country's in an economic position where its citizens don't need to pay income tax, and Hassanal's government has spent billions of dollars funding national development initiatives since the 70s. But, though he's done a lot for his people's pockets, he's done very little for the people themselves. Brunei may be rich, but it's nowhere near free. Like I said earlier, it's an absolute hereditary monarchy with no elected government officials, and Hassanal's done nothing to change that. It kinda looked like he was going to 40 years ago, but that's really the extent of his democratic reform. The country only has one legal political party, which has pretty much no authority and had to swear allegiance to the Sultan as part of its registration process. Censorship is also rampant, with the country's only TV station being state-run and the government having the authority to close down news organizations without cause. This allegedly happened in 2016, when the Brunei Times abruptly shut down, shortly after criticizing the Saudi government's policies on religious pilgrimages. I say allegedly since it's unconfirmed whether Hassanal had anything to do with that, but a newspaper operating in a country under Islamic monarchy shutting down suddenly after criticizing an Islamic monarchy is pretty suspicious. Hassanal also seemingly doesn't take criticism very well, and as the absolute ruler, he's made sure it's not something he has to worry about. Under Bruneian law, you're basically allowed to get sent to jail for talking bad about the monarch, like in 2017, when a government employee got an 18-month sentence for complaining about Hassanal's policies on Facebook. This also apparently extends outside of Brunei's borders. In 2018, Hassanal sent an angry letter to the Jakarta Police Department telling them to deal with an Instagram account saying mean things about him. They complied and launched an investigation into the account's owner, who deleted all their posts shortly after and, as far as I can tell, have since taken it down. I don't know if that says more about Brunei or Indonesia, but it definitely says a lot about both. Plus, he's used his absolute authority to issue some pretty problematic decrees. Between 2014 and 2019, he phased in the infamous Sharia Penal Code, a series of religiously fundamentalist laws with a little institutional racism sprinkled in to spice things up. Under this new code, only Muslims and ethnic Malay people are allowed to be part of the parliament, meaning it's literally illegal for any other religious or ethnic group to have representation in the government. For reference, around a fifth of the population is non-Muslim and a third isn't Malay. Muslims can also only marry other Muslims and need government permission to legally convert religions. These laws don't just apply to Muslims either. It's illegal to try and convert an atheist to a religion other than Islam, non-Muslims are legally required to observe the Ramadan fast, and Christmas celebrations are banned in public places. Punishments like whippings, dismemberments, and execution by stoning are also permitted in criminal cases, with adultery, homosexuality, and blasphemy all being crimes punishable by death, though capital punishment isn't actually practiced. Also, any kind of gathering of more than 10 people requires a permit thanks to that 60-year-old state of emergency. Like I've already mentioned, Hassanal's still in power today, but he's in his 70s, so I don't know for how much longer that'll be. Could be a while though. Lizzie II made it to 96 without abdicating, so who knows. What I do know is that absolute monarchies are going on my list of stuff that should have stopped a long time ago, but are still a thing for some reason. Alright, that's it. Hit the like if you like it, hit the dislike if you don't. Let me know in the comments who you want to see me cover in the next episode. Subscribe to see more when there's more to see, but until then, I'm out.